Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about today. There is a huge stalemate that Trump is winning. Trump is winning this battle, this game of chicken between the Democratic Party and himself. He's winning that battle because they have no problem with a physical barrier. They only have a problem with giving him a victory. That's really what they care about. Everybody knows this too. Everybody knows that they only care about keeping Trump from attaining a victory. That's it. To my super chat, thank you so very much. You give me every incentive to rock these live streams. Coney Barrett has to be Trump's next pick. If he doesn't pick Coney Barrett, in my humble view, he'll be making a strategic miscalculation. Now, I love Sticks, and I watch Sticks every day, almost every day. And he made some great points, some excellent points regarding Trump not overreaching. Trump playing it cool. Thank you, Roadkill Raker. Thank you. He made some really great points about going into 2020, if he has to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which, by the way, the White House has already, just today, the White House has already, White House, Ginsburg. Trump White House urging allies to prepare for possible RBG departure. White House reportedly readying to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That's The Week. This is Politico. This is Vanity. That was Politico. This is Vanity Fair. Trump White House reportedly on RBG. Okay, so while the beloved Supreme Court justice recovers from a health scare, the president's allies are preparing for the worst. So there's a very strong possibility that she might retire. There's a very strong possibility. Okay. Bud Drake. Happy birthday, Bud Drake. Everyone, all 225, almost 300 people, going on 300 people, wish Bud Drake a happy birthday. 55 years young. Yes. Bud Drake, happy birthday, Bud Drake. Happy birthday. Johnny 5. Did you see Jim Acosta went down to the border and right next to the border wall claimed nothing happening here. See, walls work. I saw a little bit of that, and Johnny 5, that is hilarious. That is hilarious. Thank you very much as always, Johnny 5, as always. But let me read you this. So Bud Drake, happy birthday again, Johnny 5. Yeah, that Jim Acosta is basically a Democratic operative at this point. It's not. CNN is an extension of the Democratic Party. But this is an interesting article from the Washington Post. Now, I guess getting to my point, Sticks was talking about he made some really excellent points regarding Trump not overreaching. If Trump overreaches and gets somebody who's the antithesis of Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court, that would really hurt him in 2020 because that would embolden the Democratic base and they would show up. They would make it, more of a point to show up. I think no matter what Trump does, if he tries to reach them meet them halfway, whatever he does to appease Democrats won't be enough. Look what they did to Kavanaugh. So I don't think that anything Trump does will be enough. Johnny 5, thank you as always again. I don't think anything that Trump does to appease Democrats will be enough, ever. They're going to go into 2020 saying that he is a bigoted monster who worked with Russia. It's the same thing that they went into 2016 But the thing is, now you have millions upon millions of people who have been absolutely hounded every single day by negative news stories of Trump. The media is working in overdrive. Everything that he does that's good, whether it's peace between North and South Korea or bringing home Americans from conflict, everything's overlooked. 400,000 manufacturing jobs, everything's overlooked for a tweet or what people, unnamed sources, former and current government sources. And it's just the media is working in overdrive. Every once in a while, you'll get an article like this. David French is a senior fellow at the National Review. So he's a National Review writer. I think he's one of the editors, who was published in the Washington Post. Trump picked the wrong judge. Okay, this is interesting. I actually think that Trump should have picked Amy Coney Barrett also. But this is a July 9th, 2018 article, and this is very, very interesting. Johnny 5, thank you. Brian, Trump took that vlogger Jim Acosta from CNN. Acosta isn't fit to film sticks. Let's just really quickly, I'll look at Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta mocked for accidentally proving that border walls work. That's hilarious. This is so hilarious. House CNN's Jim Acosta were mocked across social media on Thursday for posting a video that was meant to downplay President Trump's claims of a border crisis, but ended up supporting his argument that border barriers improve security. Here are some of the steel slats the president's been talking about, Acosta said. But as we're walking along here, we're not seeing any kind of imminent danger. Well, Jim, it's the border is more than just what you see. You know, the world doesn't revolve around Jim Acosta. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. 1,954 miles of border, 2,000 miles, almost 2,000 miles of border. The guy looks at one one area of land and says, "Well, nothing's happening here." That's not the point. You can't. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can't say that there are lives perishing at the border, while and then Jim Acosta says, "Well, nothing's happening here." Which one is it? Of course, there is a crisis in terms of trafficking of narcotics and trafficking of human beings, and all different types of trafficking. I found some steel slats down at the border, but I don't see anything resembling a national emergency situation, at least not in the McAllen, Texas area of the border where Trump will be today. So what? That doesn't make any sense at all. And then Sarah Sanders clowns him. When I went with President Trump to the border today, I never imagined Jim Acosta would be there doing our job for us and so clearly explaining why walls work. Thanks, Jim. That is hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. And he's like, this is Caleb Hull. Jim Acosta just posted one of the biggest cell phones ever. He's walking along the border where there's a wall in place, about how there's nothing that resembles a national emergency situation, and there's no migrants trying to rush. That's because there's a wall, Jim. That's hilarious. Walls work. That is so hilarious. See, I'm not on Twitter, so hey, you found a place where there's a barrier and all is quiet. Jim, do you know what point you're trying to make? That is so funny. Acosta making videos for the Trump administration showing the effectiveness of border barriers. That is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Brian, thank you. Joe C. Sticks doesn't trust the concept of originalist justice. Also prefer the Ashkenazi fonts. That's actually Fonzie's Jewish, but yes, Ashkenazi Fonzie. Yeah. You know what? The Yiddish lumberjack will make its appearance soon. Yes, Joe. Thank you. I actually agree with Sticks on his viewpoint regarding SCOTUS, and even regarding Ruth Bader Ginsburg, aside from the anti-gun viewpoints that she has. But Joe, thank you. I just think that it has to be Amy Coney Barrett, because what happens is they won't be able to talk about her religion because they just did that, and it was seen as anti-Catholic, which it was. You can't say to somebody that dogma lives within you. What dogma? You couldn't say that about any other background. How dare Dianne Feinstein say this? You can't say that to somebody. Oh, the dogma of your religious upbringing lives within you, so therefore you can't interpret the Constitution. I mean, that's absurd. And then she's a woman. She has 7 children. It's going to be very difficult for them to pull a Kavanaugh. And what they'll try to do, they might try to just disparage her character. I mean, they're ruthless. They're absolutely ruthless. But see, they would be ruthless even if Trump picked, because Kavanaugh is not an extreme choice, and they painted him to be the spawn of Satan. So I just think that no matter what he does, it will be to the exponential degree seen as, a crime against humanity. But this is interesting. Trump picked the wrong judge. And this is before the whole, this is July 9th, 2018. David French wrote this. I don't agree with David French on some things. Like foreign policy, I don't agree with him on. But he is a good writer. And he has good viewpoints. And here's an article where he wrote, okay, there was a moment in early afternoon of July 9th when conservatives contemplated the delightful possibility that they might witness the best possible version of President Trump, the man with the will and flair for the dramatic that would allow him to be bolder than the average Republican president. The best version of Trump would have nominated Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. So there's already, ladies and gentlemen, there's already Notre Dame. That's right. Even though I went to USC and I love USC, I respect Notre Dame. Fighting Irish. So there's already mainstream conservative support for Amy Coney Barrett. He doesn't have to do much. This is not somebody who is unknown. Kavanaugh was known within D.C., but he wasn't really known. Amy Coney Barrett was probably more in the spotlight than Kavanaugh. Would another Republican have the guts to put forward a nominee who so clearly inflamed the culture wars? That's another thing what Trump needs to do. And he's kind of doing it with the government shutdown. Because you see, Democrats can't say there's no crisis. They talk about a crisis all the time. Okay? They talk about a crisis all the time at the border, only when it suits them. But they can't talk about a crisis. They can't say that there's no crisis. So what they're saying is, well, it's a horrible thing. It's bigoted. Meanwhile, the way I look at it, it's not about impeding the flow of undocumented immigrants. It's about impeding the flow of criminal behavior, specifically the flow of narcotics, illegal narcotics, which it would do. Trafficking the traffickers would have a much difficult time if there was an actual physical barrier that was supervised. You would have less illegal narcotics less drugs into the country. That's not, there's nobody doubts that. Nobody's saying that, no, it wouldn't make a difference. Of course it would make a difference. Would another Republican president shatter the GOP nominee mold by selecting a mother of 7 kids, an outspoken Christian, and a graduate from a normal non-Ivy League law school? The base motivating, electrifying pick was right there in the palm of his hand. He messed up. That whole Kavanaugh thing, I mean, Kavanaugh was completely railroaded. Completely. I had lunch with a buddy of mine. He's like, well, it was a reputable allegation. What does that mean? So anyone who's deemed reputable can ruin a person's life with an allegation that doesn't have anything basing it? I hope that's fine. Humanist Report this he can diss me all he likes. That's fine. I have to. Can you tell me what he said? Because I don't know exactly. Alexander, can you tell me what he said? That's fine. I'm not gonna. I probably won't respond because, I don't think it's worth it. But it depends what he said. Let's put it this way. My articles on Bernie were going viral. Anyway, I'm not gonna. I don't know what he said. So, George Rivera Jr. What does Diane know about dogma? When was the last time she went to temple? That's true. That's true. I've been to the temple probably more recently than she has. George Rivera Jr., thank you so very much. Thank you so very, very, very much. George Rivera Jr., Happy New Year to you, and thank you. Thank you. Why would I be scared? I'm not... No, it's bad. Good. Let's see. What did Humanist Report say about me? He had me on his show twice, by the way. So it's like, let's see. By the way, if Humanist Report wants to debate me on any issue, the feasibility of Medicare for all, the fact that people like, well, I should say progressive pundits that talk about Medicare for all know very well the Democratic Party will never, ever pass a Medicare for all bill. They know that Democrats don't care about any internal push, whether it's for Medicare for all or green economy or $15 minimum wage or any of that stuff. If he wants to debate me, it's an open challenge. He could reach me at Contact Goodman78. It's my pleasure. Would love to debate him. Would absolutely love to debate him because I've been on his show twice. If he wants to go on my show, I would love that. Well, I can't. It doesn't really say anything, but let's see. I'll have to watch it. So, but at least tell me what he said. I have no idea what he said. It's bad. Okay, well, our love, HA. Please tell everyone to watch the roundtable meeting today. Every American should see it. Proof of why we need the wall. Thanks for all you do. Yeah, I mean, the roundtable was interesting. He typed in roundtable. The first thing was pizza. Fox News cuts away from Trump, following graphic human. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the thing is, the Trump's immigration roundtable. There's things that you can't even talk about. There's things that are so heinous you can't even talk about them. Lupe Stella, hello. Yeah, so you know what? Like I said, Alexander, if you can relay to Humanist Report, I would love to debate him because he knows very well. He's the Young Turks works for the Democratic Party. So their whole thing is fight the oligarchy, man. They're going to all vote for Trump. For Beto 2020 or Clinton 2020 or any Democratic nominee, even if they cheat Bernie Sanders. Humanists might vote for Jill Stein. I think he might have voted for Jill Stein. Kyle Kulinski will vote for Jill Stein and then tell people to vote for Clinton in swing states. So that's not really voting for Jill Stein. That's, you're straddling the fence. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the first thing she talks about is what? Tweets and, issues on social media. There is no Medicare for all legislation they're pushing. That is my point. There's no Medicare for all legislation they're pushing. So I was 100% accurate in my prediction and what I said. None of the people who promised their voters Medicare for all are going to implement any legislation for 320 plus million Americans. I was right about that. And what all they do, I don't know what he said about me, but all they do is funnel progressive outrage back into the DNC. They'll never let Bernie run again because he was already cheated. You think Humanist reporter Kyle Kulinski talk about the DNC fraud lawsuit or any of those people? You think the whole thing started when, what's his name? One of the journalists there dissed me for 30 minutes. 30 minutes on Facebook. Do you want to know why? Because I said John Iadarola said a donation is a donation. So the $200 million that was defrauded from voters was taken illegally by Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You think any of those fight the oligarchy, man? You think any of those people are going to talk about that? No. How many hit pieces written about Humanist reporter Kyle Kulinski or Cenk Uygur? How come they wrote hit pieces on me? That's because I was a threat when I was on the left. They viewed me to be a threat because they can't talk about Hillary Clinton. They can't do anything like not vote for the Democratic nominee. Nobody really cares. You think the Daily Beast cares about any of them? You think Raw Story or you think Joan Walsh dislikes Kyle Kulinski? No. Those people dislike anyone who is an actual threat to the Democratic Party. One of the reasons I left is because Democrats and many pundits are disingenuous. They know where the power structure is, yet they just complain. And at the end of the day, they rally behind the Democratic Party. That whole network that Humanist is part of is an outreach of the Democratic Party to millennials. So he can say whatever and if he wants to debate me, I'll easily defeat him in any debate regarding Medicare for all, because he knows very well what's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doing? Not talking about Medicare for all legislation. Nobody is. Nancy Pelosi isn't either. They used it to deceive voters. So none of them will debate me because they know very well what's going on. So do I. I was on the left. That's why I left. Our love. Thank you. Roosevelt Media News. Thank you. Thank you, Roosevelt Media. Thank you. They know how disingenuous they're. That's why if they want to contact me, it's contactgoodman78@gmail.com. So no, obviously I do know what I'm talking about. They're going to cheat Bernie Sanders again. And TYT will then say, vote for the people who cheated Bernie. Not one person is talking about Medicare for all legislation. Not one person drafted a bill. And in 2 years, they will not draft any legislation. And all of those pundits will be lying to their viewers as always, as usual. I saw one Humanist report. He wants to pack the Supreme Court with more than 9 judges. And I explained why that's not feasible. You would need also, 2/3 of Congress. Are you old enough to remember USC's halfback beat? Yes, I do. No, I'm not old enough, but it was who was it? No, I know it very well. He had 3 touchdowns, I believe, or 4 touchdowns. I should know this. Was it Mike Garrett? I can't believe I don't know this. I don't remember. Oh, fine. My brain is like fried. Like I said, they can debate anytime they want. They won't, because their Achilles heel is the fact that they know the Democratic Party doesn't give a you know what about any of the policies they claim to care about. Beto O'Rourke had the second has taken more money than any other person in Congress, other than what's his name, Ted Cruz, from oil and gas. And you don't see Humanist or Kyle or anyone saying bring home Americans. You don't see them saying, hey, Trump did a good thing. Kalinske actually did. He grudgingly said President Trump did a very good thing. Grudgingly. But they don't really talk about. They just talk about, oh yeah, this is horrible, this is that. We got to do this. And in the end, they just funnel people back in the Democratic Party. The same party that cheated Bernie Sanders. Then they have like debates with the more like Democratic Party TYT people on whether censorship is good and whether Trump actually colluded with Russia, which is so ridiculous. Both topics are easy. Like, yeah, he didn't collude and censorship is bad. I am, but the Ramones, I do remember that video. Was it Mike? No, hold on. I have to find out. USC halftime running back beats Notre Dame. Why do I not remember this? What's wrong with my brain? It wasn't OJ. It wasn't OJ. Let's see. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I can't believe I. Here, I'll tell you. So, oh, it's 19. That's right. Hold on. It's 19. It was 1973, I think. No, The Comeback, 1974. Anthony Davis. It was Anthony Davis. It was Anthony Davis. He is a legend. USC Anthony Davis, legend. 40 years after comeback. I knew this. See, my brain has been so fried lately. It's been so fried from politics. Kingdonomics, hello. No, they don't. They don't. Look, it's January 10th. They are not talking about Medicare for all. Furthermore, you'd have to double to triple tax collection. Simply saying there's no rebuttal from Kalinske or Humanist Report or anyone about doubling to tripling tax collection from the Mercatus study. Because if that, you'd have to say, the Urban Institute also has its own study saying it's not feasible. But see, even if I were wrong about that, let's say I'm wrong, which is a possibility. Democrats are not going to roll into 2020 with astronomically high tax increases. Now, even Ocasio-Cortez, even Whoopi Goldberg is like, yeah, 70% top marginal no. They're not even comfortable with the top marginal tax rate increase. People are not on the left. They're not even comfortable. So they're not going to increase personal and corporate to ensure that it's even feasible. They're not going to go into 2020. The people who are talking about that are deceiving their voters. They know that. But if they want to reach out to me, either Humanist or anyone, contact goodman78@gmail.com. It's my pleasure. net savings after the economy tanks. And then you have right now for 44 million people on Medicare, you have an out of pocket of $5,000. So, but anyway, getting back to this, it's just, these people are so disingenuous. Like they know very well. Oh, whatever. This guy wrote me, by the way, Humanist Report. He wrote me a tweet. He wrote me a DM. One of his colleagues spent a half an hour. So you want to know why I'm a little bit perturbed? So I have no idea what he said about me, but he wrote me a DM. Oh, HA, you're irresponsible in going after TYT. I joined TYT, and you labeled all of us as having, having to kind of promote some kind of whatever. He didn't say, oh, hey, sorry about my colleague insulting you and two other people. He didn't say that. He didn't say, hey, buddy, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. This guy spent 30 minutes on Facebook Live insulting you. No, it was all about him. It was like, oh, well, this hurts me. It's like, I didn't even bring your name up, dude. And then I told him, hey, look, I respect you. And then I never brought your name up. And I was talking about the network in general, which Humanist doesn't. But the network in general, Kyle Kulinski, for example, does funnel everyone back into the Democratic Party. That's why they don't defend WikiLeaks. Humanist doesn't. Kulinski doesn't. Cenk Uygur doesn't. They don't defend WikiLeaks, number one. They don't defend Julian Assange. They don't talk about things like the DNC fraud lawsuit. They don't talk about how Bernie Sanders was cheated anymore. They rarely try to debunk the Trump-Russia myth. So they're, essentially tools of the Democratic Party. They know very well they're not going to get Medicare for all. And if they don't know, just look at who's in Congress. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't care about Medicare for all right now. She cares about internet beefs. That's the main thing. They haven't drafted any legislation. Where's the legislation? Let's say I'm wrong. Where is the legislation? I would ask Humanist, Mike, where's the legislation? What are they pushing now? She funded ICE. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez voted to fund the Homeland Security, which ICE is a part of. She funded ICE. Beto O'Rourke has taken the second most dollar amount, more money than anyone aside from Ted Cruz from oil and gas. The left is full of hypocrisy. Full of hypocrisy. So yeah, I'd love to debate. You know what? Anyone who wants to debate on the left, there's two lesser insignificant people I've reached out to, but they don't. When I was on Twitter, they definitely don't. They just want to take pot shots at me. It was just fine. But anyone who wants to debate me, contact goodman78@gmail.com. Who, if you have a platform, if you have a channel or whatever. No, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. Here, AOC funded ICE. Abolish ICE by funding it. That's one article. It turns out she, along with the entire Democratic Party caucus in the House of Representatives, voted to fund ICE on their very first day in office. AOC votes to continue funding ICE. And it was the Department of Homeland Security. So to continue funding for the Department of Homeland Security, which includes ICE. She could have said, no, I don't want to continue. I don't want to vote for this because it would mean funding the very agency I want abolished. I would love to debate Hassan Piker, any of them. I would ask them first and foremost why they don't defend Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. None of them do. Kyle Kalinske is very, very, very popular, very successful. Not one episode, maybe one a while back, who knows, but doesn't use his platform to defend Julian Assange. We know that Bernie Sanders was cheated because of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, and we know the truth about a whole bunch of things because of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Yet they're going to fight the oligarchy. You think the oligarchy cares about any of these pundits? The oligarchy's laughing. The one thing that I had in common with Bernie, just obviously I'm like a small little guppy, is that when he was running, all the establishment papers wrote hit pieces on him, hated him. And the papers on the left, or the little publications like Daily Beast or whatever, wrote hit pieces on me. You think any of these pundits, these Medicare for All pundits, got hit pieces written about? No, because they're not a threat. Horace! Horace! Horace, thank you so very much. Thank you, Horace. Thank you, Horace. Patricia Marino, thank you. AOC is sheepdog for the Dems. You can tell by the media. Of course. There are no hit pieces on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There was when Bernie was running. The Washington Post went after Bernie. There was like a media blackout with Bernie because he was an actual threat. He was able to win. Now he's just there. What was it? David Brock is like writing articles now. Oh yeah. Don't let Bernie Sanders poison. Don't let Bernie fans poison the well or poison the Democratic Party. Patricia Marino, you're 100% right. Horace, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, 30 minutes of one of his colleagues insulting me, disrespecting me. And then he DMs me, oh, yeah, well, I got a tweet from somebody who follows you and you're painting us all with the same brush. It's like, give me a break. Give me a break. How about saying, oh, yeah, that was really messed up what my friend did or what my colleague did. But that's not the mentality. The mentality is, kind of go where the power influence is. So that's why none of them defend WikiLeaks. That's why none of them defend Julian Assange. That's why none of them use their platform. Like I've used my platform in my way. But contact goodman78@gmail.com. I would simply ask Humanist or any of them, how come Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hasn't drafted any legislation? Medicare for all legislation. Let's put that Medicare for all legislation. 2017. Okay, that was the last Medicare for All Act of 2017. Okay. Oh, here's the best we get. Democratic chairman begins prep for work legislation to enact single-payer healthcare. House Budget Committee Chairman, has asked Congressional Budget Office to analyze the effects of shifting all healthcare costs on the federal government. So they're not even, they don't even have a ready-made plan. They have to ask the CBO for a plan, and the CBO is going to say, yeah, massive tax hikes, and then they'll abandon it. Not one piece of legislation. I thought it was great. I thought that that's what people ran on. I thought that it was already feasible from an economic sense. Where's the legislation? The best you have is House Budget Chairman begins laying groundwork. Why would you need groundwork if it's already, better than the current system? Not one person in Congress on the left, not one Democrat has drafted legislation in 2019. Not one, which is exactly what I've been saying. Not one. He wants to, but you have people like the homeless walrus, John Bolton. He will eventually, it would be a million times better than Clinton. But let's continue. Then he went establishment. He chose a man that any Republican president would have nominated. He made the best safe choice he could, Judge Kavanaugh. See, this is before the whole, something happened in a galaxy far, far away. So you would need 2/3 majority vote in the House of Representatives and 2/3 of and the Senate, or by a constitutional convention for 2/3 of state legislatures. And Humanist had one where he was really upset that Kavanaugh was elected because, somebody made an allegation of him. Oh my God. And he's like, yeah, we got to pack the courts. Yet another thing that's not feasible at all, that will never, ever happen, like Medicare for all. Never, ever happen. Yet if it gets views, that's good, I guess. If you're on the left you talk about Medicare for all, oh, you're fighting the oligarchy, man. But if you talk about WikiLeaks, that doesn't happen. If you defend Julian Assange, defend WikiLeaks, talk about DNC fraud lawsuit, talk about Bernie being cheated, no. Talk about the Democratic Party simply deceiving voters over Russia. So, yeah, I'd much rather vote for Trump, much rather than the Democratic nominee in 2020, especially if it's Beto O'Rourke. At least with Trump, I get he wants to he's implementing bringing home close to 10,000 Americans. You get peace between North and South Korea, which is a great thing, the start of peace. You get 400,000 manufacturing jobs. You get a good economy. You have record low Black and Latino unemployment. What's wrong with that? And I'd love to see what Humanist and Kyle Kalinske say about Obama destroying Libya. Oh, well, that's, Obama destroying Libya is worse than anything Trump has said in a tweet or in any press conference. He didn't destroy an African nation. Obama did. So I'd love to hear the rebuttal on that. I'd love to hear the rebuttal on Obama and Democrats deporting 2.5 million immigrants, where Trump is actually deporting less. He's on pace to deport less at this point in both of their presidencies. Or what about Hillary Clinton saying, they all look alike? So the reason the people on the left, certain people on the left, don't like me or they have a problem with me is because I actually was a little bit of a threat, whereas they're not at all. You think Democrats view any of them, the people who dissed me, as a threat? They don't get hit pieces from the Daily Beast because they're part of the system. The system is just funnel all the outrage. Rhonda, Iowa girl, big government fund. Big fund me all announcement tomorrow. I think they got big donors, but I don't know where the money would go. That's the thing. I don't know where the money would go. Thank you, Rhonda, Iowa girl. My only thing is, what happens to the money if Congress isn't about to take the money? Again, I apologize if I was speaking out of line at all. I haven't seen what Humanist said about me, but I just have a little bit of a soft, or like a little some hurt there on my end, because the moment that one of his colleagues spent 30 minutes insulting me on Facebook Live using the platform of TYT, instead of a message of support, it was, OMG, why did you paint all of us with the same brush, that we're Democratic Party tools? And by the way, at that point, I was saying, hey, I love Humanist Report. Mike Figueredo's great. I was making, I always say I love Jimmy Dore. I always say that. And I used to always say that too when I was talking about TYT. But whatever, I'll find out what he said. So it's just, like I said, getting that message via DM was like, what? I'm the one who was wronged here, buddy. Like, no support at all? No, I don't. Who do I insult? What person do I what pundit do I insult in my videos? I don't insult. Maybe I used to respond back. I don't insult pundits. Who do I insult? Name a pundit I insult. If I call them out respectfully, I'm like, okay, very rarely do I call them out nowadays. I used to more often. The left is not a person. I don't know anyone called the left. Hey, the left, how are you? So what? They insult the right. Rhonda, Iowa girl, I say give it to private landowners to defend their borderlands if Congress won't do it. Rhonda, Iowa girl. Ronald Foose, thank you. Rhonda, Iowa girl. Look, he actually, what he should do right now is just create a state of emergency using some of the heinous issues that take place. And just a side note. I'm sorry, Rhonda, Iowa girl, I have to say this. They have these like pseudo-intellectual debates. I'm not even going to say the people, but they're like pro-Russia conspiracy, anti-Russia. They're like, well, Trump really didn't do this. And they're like, well, there's so much to talk about in terms of Trump, Russia. He really did something. And it's like, oh my God, this is what the left has been reduced to. Two factions. One, the straight up Democratic Party faction. And then the next is like the pseudo Democratic Party. So, but Rhonda, Iowa girl, I do agree that the border roundtable was like that alone could have been the basis of a that alone could have been the basis of a national emergency or a state of emergency. But you need a culture war. You need a culture war to take place in terms of exposing the hypocrisy on the left. The left exists, or the liberal mentality, or the mentality of Democratic voters. It's kind of like this fostered by Twitter. One of the reasons I left Twitter is like this. It's like this claustrophobic social media. This claustrophobic place where it's just like constant condemnation. Just constant condemnation. So, just constant condemnation. I'm morally superior to you. I'm morally superior. There's no discussion. So, and that's what, if he were to, if Trump were to just simply appoint Alexandria Kids, simply appoint or nominate. Graham said to pull the trigger, Dems won't move on funds. That's true, and I agree with you on that. But I think that it benefits. It benefits Trump to have the shutdown go on longer, because the source of power, Democrats derive their power from Washington. Democrats derive their power from Washington, D.C. So I think that if it actually benefits Trump to keep it going on longer. But you're right. I mean, they're probably not going to budge. You know what? It'd be interesting. I want to see how long it would take for them to even, Patricia Moreno, Texas fund state gov spending is better than if federal government. I think the U.S. Mexico border though is a federal project though. I think it's a federal project though. So. But Alexander, now you got me talking for a lot of this segment on. I don't even know what he said. So if it wasn't that big of a deal, I'm going to feel real bad. Thank you, Ben. I just think that he has to continue to do this specifically because Obama deported 2.5 million people. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez voted to fund ICE. And it's hypocritical if they're okay with a fence. They're okay with a fence, but they're not okay with a wall. That's a big problem. A huge problem. By the way, you would need to pack courts, you would need a constitutional amendment, and that's 267 House votes. You're not going to get the Republicans needed for that. So you're not going to get what 32 Republicans for that. The secret spaceship. The hard truth. Say it to USC's NPC flip. The secret spaceship. One of these days, because TYT interviewed me twice. Thank you, Rhonda G. Thank you. The secret spaceship. TYT interviewed me twice, and anytime any of them want to debate me on anything, I already know this is why they would never debate me. I already know their value system. I already know the hypocrisy in their value system. I already know what they want, why they feel morally superior, and I already know why they're not. So they wouldn't want to debate me because I would call them out on a million different things. The end of the day is you cheat Bernie Sanders. It's kind of like you left me at the altar. Is it just me or to live like he's exactly like she Stanford? Horace, very much so. Very much so. Very much. Definitely, very much. There is a Stanford prison experiment there. I mean, this is like also the Milgram experiment too. I mean, it says something about human nature. It says something about human nature. It just says something very sad about human nature. Very sad about human nature. And that's the thing. The left is just the great thing about being a Trump supporter is that I really don't like. Of course, like it kind of certain things get me a little bit upset when they take shots at me from people I used to know, who I know are disingenuous. But being a Trump supporter, it's like you don't have to uphold. Like the worst I get is when I expose Q as being a conspiracy, and then like 600-700 people stop following me, which is fine, because I am. Oh, here it is. I think he questioned my value system. Oh, okay. Well, while I was writing viral articles about Bernie Sanders, I don't know how much Humanist was talking about Bernie, but I was taking the heat. And yes, you do. I think it's, how do you go from Bernie to Trump? Very easily, Mr. Humanist Report, Mike Figueredo, because you want Americans to be brought home from never-ending conflict. Why do you think I supported Bernie in 100 articles in The Hill, The Huffington Post, and Salon, while you were barely talking about him in 2015? What were you talking about in 2015? Probably wasn't Bernie Sanders. So when my articles were going viral and I was saying he was going to win, I was saying that Clinton should be indicted, which is exactly what everyone who wants Medicare for all and to destroy the oligarchy, man, should be wanting or should be pushing for, because she committed crimes and she cheated Bernie, then blamed Russia. How stupid do you have to be to overlook that? You go from Bernie to Trump because you want, number one, you don't want a foreign policy that is influenced and set by Max Boot and Bill Kristol and Hillary Clinton. Is that too much for you to comprehend? Very simple. Very simple. And I'm not talking to a humanist himself. I'm talking to anyone who questions my value system. You become a Trump supporter after a Bernie supporter, like many people, because foreign policy is the most important issue you vote on. Okay? Foreign policy. Then you know very well that Bernie Sanders was cheated. So you don't reward a Democratic Party that cheats Bernie Sanders. In addition to bringing home Americans from war, in addition to having a foreign policy that isn't a regime change foreign policy. So while you're talking about Medicare for all, knowing very well that none of the Democrats are going to draft legislation increasing taxes enough to fund it, you know that. Max Boot, Bill Kristol, Hillary Clinton, Robert Kagan, all of these interventionists want to remove Assad. They want to remove dictators. They want to remove and implement regime changes. That's why you vote for Trump. Because guess where he's getting the biggest pushback from for bringing home Americans? The left. Then you have peace between North and South Korea. Pretty good thing. Very good thing. Then you have an emphasis on manufacturing jobs. 400,000, while 300,000 were lost. Then he was against the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now I have a Second Amendment channel, Mike. Why don't you check it out? So you do change as an individual sometimes. So you can question my value system all you'd like, but I was writing viral articles while you and others weren't really talking about Bernie. So, and they wrote hit pieces on me and they went after me because they viewed me to be a threat. Me to be a threat. Not anyone at TYT. Definitely not a threat. Definitely helping the Democratic Party. There's nothing wrong about that, but just don't pretend you're going to fight the power structure. You're part of the power structure. Doc BBW, RBG, malignant lung, multiple rib factor. Doc BBW, that's why the White House, is preparing Republicans. That's why they're preparing Doc BBW. Yes, thank you. George Rivera Jr., Ginsburg is either retired or expired. George Rivera Jr., Doc BBW, thank you. Yes, so George Rivera Jr., thank you. Doc BBW, thank you. So yeah, don't just call me out, Mike. I'm challenging you to a debate on my channel. I've been on your channel twice. Anytime you want to. Contact goodman78@gmail.com. If you want to find out why I went from Bernie to Trump, just let's talk about it. If you're trying to call me out on my value system, and also, like, what is there to gain? So I was on MSNBC, CNN, talking about how Bernie Sanders is better than Clinton. I was on the left experiencing arrows from all different, explaining that Clinton loses, that Bernie is much better. And when Bernie was cheated, I never let it go. That's a good thing. people who say, "Oh, a donation is a donation," that is just, you're basically communicating everything Pelosi or Clinton wants. Clinton purchased the Russian hacking myth. The Steele dossier was purchased by Hillary Clinton. CrowdStrike is the only source of information for the Russian hacking nonsense. Nobody knows what happened to DNC servers. So that's one of the reasons. Do you ever talk about Julian Assange? You ever talk about WikiLeaks? That's another reason I could never vote Democrat. And in terms of Jill Stein, foreign policy, I'd rather have Trump's foreign policy. Because Trump's foreign policy is not 100% anti-Israel, which is what definitely the left is. That's their view of anti-war. If you want to debate that, let's go debate that also. Anytime you want to debate, Mr. Figueredo, anytime. Contact goodman78@gmail.com. I'm not on Twitter. So we can also debate your message to me after one of your colleagues spent 30 minutes insulting me on Facebook Live after he interviewed me twice. George Rivera, Alexander, see what you did? George Rivera Jr., actually, it's not you. I'm looking at the Bernie proven right about America's double standard on outrage culture. No, Bernie is part of the Russian hacking myth that says that Russia influenced the election to let people know he was cheated. Horace! No, it's all good. It's all good. At the end of the day, Horace, thank you. At the end of the day, all of them can diss me. It's okay because I'm a Trump supporter, and Horace, thank you so much. They can't hurt me anymore. They can't disrespect me anymore because at the end of the day, it's like, let's debate. If you don't want to debate and you just want to, attack me or take shots at me, that says something about you, which is like actually a lot of people go after me, and it's like, they debate me, then they get the Sather treatment, which I ask a simple question. So I'm all about simple questions. Yeah, lots of people went from Bernie to Trump, okay? Because they're not like, there's a million reasons why you go from Bernie to Trump. We send billions overseas but can't find border security. Everyone should see these numbers. Thank you. Darrell Bruno, thank you. Thank you. That's the thing. It's like you have to be part of this. You have to be part of this, like, you have to be part of the groupthink. If you're not part of the groupthink, and there's a big problem with you, the people on the left, you have to be part of the groupthink. You have to believe the same things. If you don't believe the same things, there's something wrong with you. Luke St. Martin. Thank you. Dara Bruno. Luke St. Martin. Thank you. Horace. Thank you. Dennis. Berletich. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for watching my Second Amendment channel. Thank you. This is something I hope all my wonderful detractors watch. I have a Glock 29 segment. Please share it. Dennis, thank you so very much. Luke St. Martin, thank you. Dara Bruno, thank you. It's just like, it's like you go easily from Bernie to Trump because most of the things regarding Trump, and I'll talk to him about the Tiki Torch. He didn't say both sides were good people or whatever. He never said that. He never said that in the context. He actually never even said that verbatim at all. And if he wants to, oh, Trump's a racist, yeah. And who'd you vote for? Well, the Democratic Party. You're part of an alliance of pundits on a corporation that pushed for Hillary Clinton, who referred to black youth as super predators. Worse than anything Trump said. So let's go at it. I mean, I have believe me, anyone on the left that wants to debate me, it won't be a good time for them. Believe it's because I know everything they can say, and I have a comeback for everything, and I expose their hypocrisy. So I'm pumped up. I am pumped up. And there's a lot more of me. Trust me. And by the way, look, Mike does good work. I mean, and then one of his, you don't change your views drastically overnight because you hate Hillary. That's not why I changed my views. I used to watch him, but no more. He's become a parody of the right. Okay, whatever that means. There's a lot of people like me who went from Bernie to Trump and from Jill Stein to Trump. My articles were retweeted by Jill Stein also. I'm late to the party, but this, I don't even know H.A. Goodman became a Trump tour. What happened? So I never trusted that cockroach. Yeah, that's what his wonderful. He's a traitor. H.A. Goodman's a traitor. Oh my God. There's more money. Believe me, there's more money in pandering to the left. All right. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Thank you. Stiggs Mesta, thank you. See, I mean, a great many people go from Bernie to Trump because they don't like the system. You can talk all you like about, green economy and all that. But at the end of the day, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Max Boot, they control the Democratic Party. Clinton, actually, Donna Brazile wrote that Clinton controls the Democratic Party. It's her plaything. She's not going to do anything. Not even the 70% top marginal tax rate. That won't even get through a Democratic House. You want to know how I know? Because they're not even introducing legislation for that. It's just they're trotting out Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and then having Whoopi Goldberg and other people saying, "Oh, that's not good. You know, you're being a little bit too radical." Then she's like, "Well, the wall is racist. What, 2.5 million immigrants being deported, orphaned by deportation?" The one reason I love Trump is because his existence calls out hypocrisy on the left. His very existence. Everything he does, whether it's anything he said, his foreign policy, his immigration policy, is better than what the left has to offer or what Democrats have to offer. Much better. Much better. Rhonda, Iowa girl, I will take Alexander for 25. I will take Alexander for 2509. Thank you. That's a reference to oh my God, yeah, Trebek. Rhonda, Iowa girl, thank you. What's wrong with my brain? Anthony Davis. I knew that. I know these things. By the way, Mike, if I was rude or any way, I apologize. It's just that, like why go why go after me? It's January 10th, 2009. I haven't been on your show in like well over a year, and I've been on your show twice. But anyway, I'll find out exactly what you said. And if you want to debate, it's contactgoodman78@gmail.com. Let's set up a debate. And I'll explain to you and your viewers or my viewers or whatever how you go from Bernie to Trump very easily. I think the people of Libya, I think people around the Middle East would be like, yeah, Trump, much better than any Democrat. Rhonda, Iowa girl, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Ruth Bader Ginsburg seems to be that Trump is going to pick his third Supreme Court. And yes, you know what? I want a justice that's going to protect the Second Amendment. We can debate that also. I would love to. Rob589. I've never been invited, but I would absolutely love to. But I don't, would love to see your counter the Russian. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Thank you, Rob589. Thank you. I would love that. Burbank Story Lady. RBG suffers worse. Friends, worse since her friend Scalia. Wow. Burbank Story Lady. Thank you. Rob589. I would love that. Rhonda, Iowa Girl. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. God bless. I'll be back a little later. Thank you so much, everyone. Trump has to pick Amy Coney Barrett. He needs to. Thank you so very much.